FreemanTV.com and also the FreemanPerspective.blogspot.com, because I find this opinion very interesting, and I think that we can take in these type of data without worrying about corrupting our brain patterns in any way. Because the story is true as far as we're looking at electromagnetic radiation. Whether or not the CIA killed the king of pop using electric space-based weapons is, of course, in question. I do not have that data to show me that there were emitted rays at Michael Jackson's house. But curious enough, I never thought that I'd have the Michael Jackson story collide with my space-based weapons story. And it is also colliding on another level in that Obama is currently in Russia discussing the missile defensive shield that America plans to put in Europe. And this is being somewhat overshadowed by the idea of Michael Jackson's death. That funeral was amazing. There was more people trying to get to that than who cares about whether or not we're getting rid of nukes. It's an interesting planet. This story of President Obama, potential President Obama, and his meeting with Medvedev begins with a quote-unquote secret letter. And I say quotes because this letter was broadcast all over the news, all over the world, and just looking at the New York Times article on it, March 2nd, 2009, President Obama sent a letter, a secret letter, to Russia's president last month. Well, that would be February, suggesting that he would back off deploying a new missile defense system in Eastern Europe if Moscow would help to stop Iran from developing long-range weapons. So the letter to President Dmitry Medvedev was hand-delivered in Moscow by top administration officials, and it said the United States would not need to proceed with the interceptor system, which has been vehemently opposed by Russia since it was proposed by the Bush administration. The plan to build a high-tech radar facility in the Czech Republic and to deploy 10 interceptor missiles in Poland, a part of the world that Russia once considered its sphere of influence, was a top priority for George W. Bush, to deter Iran in case it developed a nuclear warhead to fit atop its long-range missiles. Mr. Bush never accepted a Moscow proposal to install part of the missile defense system on its territory and jointly operate it so it could not be used against the Russians. Now the Obama administration appears to be reconsidering that idea, although it is not clear if it would want to put part of the system on Russian soil where it could be flipped on or off by the Russians. Mr. Obama has been lukewarm on missile defensive. Yeah, he supports it only if it can be proved technically effective and affordable. Now, so this whole situation began with this quote-unquote secret letter that was sent. And so now, at this point, curiously, during a time where we're going into a triple eclipse, we have 3 eclipses coming. One was today, July 7th. And some were even stating, not to get too off topic, that this day would also include a number of solar flare hits to the Earth, as determined by a couple of crop circles. I was curious because this did not turn out to be true, and also we'll get to about my 4th of July and a few other notes of worth from last show to recount. So,
and we are spending billions of dollars on missile defense. And I actually believe that we need missile defense because of Iran and North Korea and the potential for them to obtain or to launch nuclear weapons. I will cut investments in unproven missile defense systems. I will not weaponize space. And I actually believe that we need missile defense because of Iran and North Korea and the potential for them to obtain or to launch nuclear weapons. I will cut investments in unproven missile defense systems.
So there's a bit of a flip-flop there, yeah. Curious and curiouser. And this is why I bring this to your attention, why I bring out movies like Obama Cloning and the Coming Space War. Because there is more going on here, and everything is a show. It's all just set up as a spectacle to cause reactions out of us. And so that is why I look at the symbolic gestures as I have been and noting them so that we can see them as the show that it is, because this is all to make us react. It's all there to make us do what they need us to do, because we are the true power behind them, and if we can figure that out, then we can change things. It is my firm belief that at this moment they are trying to foment World War III, that they are setting up the chess pieces in just the places that they are necessary so that things can collide in just a perfect fashion. And so I see these things as simple chess moves. So while Michael Jackson's funeral ceremony was going on, Presidents Barack Obama and Dmitry Medvedev made history agreeing to a series of concrete steps that help reset U.S.-Russian relations after years of decline. Most important, the two presidents agreed to a framework for a new nuclear reductions treaty to replace the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START, which will expire in less than 5 months. So given the limited time frame for the talks, the reduction outlined in the joint statement are not surprisingly limited in scale. The agreement would establish lower limits on the number of strategic warheads that may be deployed, for more than 2,200 warheads today to 1,500 or 1,675, just in case we need a few more. Even without a new treaty, Russia is on track to reduce the deployed strategic warheads to 1,800 or less by the end of 2012 anyway. So we can only blow up the world 3 times instead of 4. And now while Obama has delayed plans for missile defense in Europe and deferred spending on additional interceptors, he is unlikely to rule out missile defense deployment until the administration completes its review of U.S. missile defense policy later this year. So Russian statements suggest that U.S. cancellation of the European missile defensive system is a prerequisite for any further cuts in offensive arms are premature and counterproductive. Okay, so what we're basically saying here is that, the Russians would agree if we would agree, but we're going to go ahead and you just watch. We will be putting up the missile defense shield in Europe, and this will probably blow up into a bigger thing because, like I say, it's chess pieces being moved. And so that's what we highlight, that's what all of this information is for, and so to get to that idea and the reasons that I talked about the 4th of July and how, what I am trying to accomplish by doing such a thing. Now, of course, Alex Jones told me, well, it's dangerous to make predictions, to state specific dates as things. But, of course, this is my forte, and this is something that I feel has been my job to do. I didn't know I was right when I said 9/11, until it happened, and I didn't know what was going to happen on 10/13. But I know these dates, and I see a plan, and I see an agenda, and so I come out because I need to, because we need to see this delusion. We need to understand that that's just a screenplay being played out. So on these levels in the 4th of July, there were many that were out stating that this was a potential date. And of course, we did have the launch of, 7 missiles out of North Korea. The curious thing is here I was talking about the 4th of July, its connections to the Temple Mount from 1187, but due to the Templars losing it on that date, July 4th, 1187. So now what I have been watching, and as I started to discuss the idea of July 4th, I was looking at the idea of cornerstones and their connection to false flag events, because of the cornerstones on the White House as 10/13 and the cornerstone on the Pentagon as 9/11. I was looking at the Freedom Tower, which is now, of course, the One World Tower, and it is July 4th. Is the dating. And of course then we had the opening of the crown at the in New York at the Statue of Liberty, and which we are looking at as the Shekinah reference there. And so the opening of the crown of the Shekinah. Now I am getting deeper and deeper into the Shekinah mystery, and we will explore this much deeper in coming shows, because I've found some information, and I was basically led along the trail of why Walt Disney always kills the princess's mother. Why is these people always orphans? So it was from this note that I started to find the lost mother in the Shekinah stories, and I will have more and more to do with that. And this has become very intriguing and interesting. interesting in connections with all of this. And of course, that was one that showed me the symbolic ritual nature of their warfare when the Shah and Shekinah